am I? But because I have an encyclopedic knowledge of them at the moment. But a lot of it, since I went to school in the 50s and 60s, a lot of it was physical abuse. I mean, kids would just grab you, and since they knew I wasn't going to fight back, they just tore me to shreds. I mean, just beat the living pulp out of me.
No adults ever came to your aid or assistance or rescue?
Oh, no. According to the teachers and the parents of the kids who were beating me up, he needs to, they didn't say man up in those days, but the equivalent thereof. He needs to, act like a man,
right.
And this is part of growing up, quack, quack, quack.
Right. Now, see, we actually talked about that in a previous show about it being a rite of passage or a ritual that, all of us have to go through at some time or another. How would you say that it impacted your life, Steve?
Well, when I got out of high school, I started studying self-defense because I realized at that point in time, I didn't know what college would hold for me. Who knew that when I got to college, nobody cared? I mean, in fact, I became incredibly popular because I was a smart kid with a scientific calculator, and everybody loved me.
Okay, so you took self-defense. Did you ever run into any of those bullies ever again?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. After about 8 years, I'm a real klutz. It took me 8 years to get a first-degree black belt in Shotokan karate. And as things would happen at a little bar, I don't drink much at all, but this bar was known for having really good live music. I went in to listen to the band, and there were three of the guys who had made my life a living hell in grade school and in high school. And I just decided to wait, and something inside of me snapped, and I said, that's it, I'm taking them. Luckily, they were drunk as skunks. Okay,
so you exacted your revenge, and it still stays with you today. Now you're a successful talk show host, I understand?
Well, yes, and I talk about this on the air because, Lynn, I put two of them in the hospital.
Okay, well, we're not going to advocate violence, Steve.
but you see, but I do, because if they get you, get them.
Okay, I have to take a break, but I certainly appreciate your perspective, and you've given us a lot to think about and talk about in our next segment. Thanks so much, Steve.
Thanks, Lynn.
Okay, we'll take a short break, and we'll find out what our experts think about Steve's solution to bullying right after this. Okay, welcome back again, everyone. I'm Lynn Doyle. This is It's Your Call. You just heard one of our viewers say that while he was bullied as a kid, he was tormented, it had a tremendous impact on his life. When he got older, he had the opportunity to extract some revenge, and he did so physically. Now, we do not in any way advocate violence, but as he said, he does. I mean, can you understand his point? I'm going to ask that question to you guys and also to our guests.
Oh, yeah.
You were there? You lived it yourself?
I lived it myself. This is what happens to kids that are bullied. Some kids, they turn into a tough kid. And I can remember going up against kids that were twice my size, but, and in my heart I was thinking, oh my God, I hope he doesn't hit me. But I was just, telling them off. And
you can understand why people like Steve then carry that around with them for such a long time. And when they get the opportunity to give it back,
yep,
they do.
Yep, and a lot of times a bully, of course, they go after the easy prey. So if you're smaller or whatever, and if you kind of let them know that this is going to hurt if you hurt me, they'll back off because they always want the easy prey. They just want the easy prey.
So I think sometimes bullying is a cowardly act too.
Yes, it is definitely. Yeah,
because it's very seldom it's one-on-one. It's always a group of 3 to 7 if you want, or even more than that. I think what I start to see more and more of are parents teaching their children or getting their children taught boxing, kickboxing, karate. You see these places all of a sudden exploding, and if you talk to a parent, they say, well, I'm not going to let my kid be bullied anymore, and they're going to be taught to fight back.
But that's if the parents know about it. In so many of these cases, we find out that the parents are the last to know, and when they hear that their kids have been a victim, they're brokenhearted. They're like, why didn't you come to me? Why is it that as children they don't come to adults and ask for help?
I think, here's what I think, and you touched on it earlier. Kids are afraid to tell their parent because they're afraid their parent's going to go to school and it's going to be twice as bad. Mm-hmm. I hear that all the time.
And it is actually, isn't it? I mean, you either get ostracized or they say, oh, mommy had to come in and take care of you. I mean,
Right.
When I was a kid, I
can see
didn't
where
tell
that
my
would
father
happen.
because he would say, "Man up," and I didn't tell my mother because she'd just go, "Oh, poor thing," and then she might go to the school and everybody will say, "Oh, what a mama's boy." So, you know, at that point, what other alternative do you have except to try to work it out some other way? And I worked it out by trying to be tough.
So what would you do differently now if you had a child, or what advice would you give to people who are watching this who has a child who might be bullied right now? I mean, we certainly can't man up and have fights in schools today like we did when we all went to school. So what do you say?
Both of my sons, I made them take karate, because not just for being able to defend themselves, but it teaches them discipline. It really helps with ADHD. It's a good thing for them to do. And they learn they have a mentor, they have somebody who can beat the crap out of anyone, really, and teaching them.
From a law enforcement official, I know that you are not saying to start a fight in school.
Well, you know,
you're saying be prepared.
I look at my own kids, and if they came home and there was a problem, I say fight back. I mean, that's unfortunately, but from my perspective, I'm not saying you should take a knife or a gun or a bat, but fight back. Show them that you're not afraid. I mean, that's the bottom line. I mean, I deal with the bullying piece from a criminal perspective. I certainly don't deal with it from a psychological perspective. And if it's a crime, there's got to be consequences.
Okay.
Pure and simple.
Well, that's the question that we have posed to our audience today. What do you think about bullying? Is it a crime when you see the video that we've been watching, the kind of attack on a young man? If you want to tell us what you think, you can find us on Facebook, but you can also email me at lynn@lynndoyle.net. Now, this is a sampling of some of the response that we got. John says, if you want to stop this kind of stuff, you have to make an example of these kids. Jail time might help stop these stupid attacks if the bullies knew they were going to jail. And yes, I think the parents of these kids should be fined as well. Another one says, jail time for kid bullies, really? Then what should we do with the IRS, 2/3 of all lawyers, and the whole House of Representatives? Give me a break. That comes from Jim. And finally, I agree with what the police did. Arrest them and they should serve time. Maybe then they'll realize that bullying isn't the route to go. Bullying someone is wrong, and then they record it like it's a trophy to be proud of their actions. That's from a Lynn, not this one, although I do have to say I agree with her. We also gave you the opportunity to call in and tell us what you think about this subject, so we're going to go back to the telephone lines where David has joined it. Hi, David, how are you?
How you doing, Lynn? How are you?
I'm good, thank you. What do you think about proposing jail time for bullies? Is that the answer?
Lynn, actually, in my studies of what's going on, because I do professional presentations on this, and I do believe that something needs to be, these punishment needs to come a little stricter than what's going on right now. I said to many times to groups that I've spoken to, I wouldn't mind seeing these kids that are performing these heinous acts against others to, have a little taste of their own medicine, and maybe even, the scared straight sort of phrase, and being be put in handcuffs and thrown in the back of a cop car.
It's interesting that you use that that as an example, because we got a lot of those kind of comments on our social media sites where they said that bullies almost need like a scared straight kind of program, or someone to bully them and show them what it's like to be humiliated and to be frightened to the extent that some of these bullies are frightening their victims. So you think that would work? That would be a deterrent?
Absolutely, because in my presentation that I use, I'm coming from the opposite end of it. I tell the kids that I was once a bully myself, and I started off on the bullying side. I was one of the nastiest